Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
It's 3 o'clock. We're missing Warren still, but maybe he'll come. I don't know. Welcome to the St. Patrick's Day meeting of the Exeter River, the River Advisory Committee of Exeter. I think that's who we are. And the first thing on the agenda after we convene the meeting is to discuss the minutes for January 20th, which was our last meeting. I know you have all pored over these minutes. Okay, so I would like to propose that when we do minutes or any public document, and we use acronyms, that the acronym be spelled out in the first occurrence, and then from there on you can just use the acronym. But the document ought to have NHDES is New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, and then after that you just say NHDES. SRF, State Revolving Fund. ARPA, now that's a problem for me because I read that as AARP. AARP is the American Association of Retired People, but ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act, which is the COVID stimulus package that we're all trying to get money from to do the Pickpocket Dam. So anyway, if it was spelled out, it would be easier to spot that. BMP is Best Management Practices. VHB is Vinas, Hagen, and Bruslin, which is, did I say that right? Bruslin Incorporated, which is our engineering firm. And by the way, just in case, ESRLAC is Exeter Squamscott River Local Advisory Committee, which is sort of a parallel organization to ours that reaches out beyond our town. Okay, so I would like to propose that draft minutes be, fixed so that you have at least one place where the acronym is straightened out for people. And in the general course of things, that ought to be a trend for public documents. Okay, so I know you've all pored over the minutes. Is there any other discussion of what's in these minutes?
I second your motion to have that done.
Second the motion.
Change the format.
Second the motion to change the format? Okay. We want to vote on that? We have quorum?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We have quorum.
All right, so we need to vote on accepting the minutes. So I will propose that we do that.
Vote to accept the minutes?
I second.
Lionel is seconding, and we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All abstaining? All opposed? Looks like it was unanimous acceptance of the minutes. Now we want to invite Paul to come and tell us where we are with all the grants we're trying to get for the Pickpocket Dam.
Hello, Paul Velocich, Town Engineer. Okay. I did read the minutes, and they were well prepared. And I'm basically going to hit the highlights of those again with the updates on those. The first category that we want to talk about is the Pickpocket Project. And we've got 2 grants in the work for that. We've got the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, SRF, for $100,000, and also the Coastal Resilience Grant for $40,000. And since our last meeting, we had another revision of the Coastal Resilience Grant. Of the grant writers wanted some things discussed, so we had to include those in our package. As I left last time, I was mentioning that we still, the scope of the project was greater than what we had money for, and we were working on how to condense or to eliminate some tasks that require dollar figures to make it a workable project within our budgets. And I think we're just about there. And with that, we also have to, for our Clean Water SRF $100,000 grant, we need to specify what grant is paying for what. And since this is a Clean Water SRF, the advice is that anything that affects water quality should be mentioned, and those should be the target for the $100,000 grant. Okay, we're going to go on to the next one. Any questions about the Pickpocket?
What would you guess would be the time frame for getting an engineering study done so that we would know what our options are and what the pros and cons of the options were and what the costs would be to do something about the high hazard dam?
Yeah, we had talked about this in the past, and it can be anywhere from, say, 13 months to a year and a half.
And our deadline is now about that far out, right? So we can
It's
just-
a little further than that.
further than-
but
okay.
yeah, so it seems doable.
Okay.
All right, now I'm going to go on to the next item, and it deals with the Great Bay Total Nitrogen General Permit, and specifically the Adaptive Management Program, and those are abbreviated AMP for Adaptive Management Program. And as I discussed last time, the town is voluntarily following the conditions of the general permit. And in our capital projects, we had just under $100,000 called out for some specific tasks that help the nitrogen situation in Great Bay. And with that, I had mentioned, I think last time, I'm not sure if I did or not, that we were likely going to get a grant for some of that work also. And in fact, I do remember that we had talked about that. We were invited to go to the full proposal. We have submitted that, and we're waiting for any comments back from both New Hampshire DES and EPA at this point. And that is another watershed assistance grant, and that will supply us with a $45,000 grant. And I remember talking about this because I mentioned it tries to corral three different subjects: advanced septic system usage, another one of the BMP installations. Best management practice is what that term's for, but it's kind of a funny nomenclature. A BMP could actually be a structural fix of something too. So it's being referred to as BMP, meaning this installation that helps with water quality. And then lastly, the fertilizer program. So that is looking good. It's under review, and that should be coming back with either comments or approvals for the town to sign a contractor. So, and that's when it will get in front of the select board. Any questions on that one? Okay, going on to the next one. We have a project called out in the Adaptive Management Program also, but it was really a separate CIP item at one time, and it's been removed from that too. And it's called the Winter Street BMP. It's a installation of a water quality unit in Kids Park on Winter Street. And that is waiting for governor and council approval of grant monies. The cost for that particular installation is $168,000, of which the grant is for $118,900. The rest of that funding will be through the town ARPA funds. And it might be prudent for me to mention how much nitrogen that is exposed to remove from our system annually, and that's 68 pounds of nitrogen a year. Any questions on that one? Okay.
Excuse me, by the kids' park, you mean the Purple Dinosaur Park?
Yeah, I think there's a purple dinosaur in it, yeah. You almost stumped me on that one, but I think I remember seeing something like that there.
The Purple Dinosaur survived the last rebuilding of the park.
And this is in an area this shouldn't have to touch any of the stuff that's already installed. This is in an area that it'll fit without any disruption there.
I'd like to ask a question if I could.
Please do.
John Clement, Thomas Wright. Two things, Paul, and good stuff. On the what is the actual BMP that's going to be used at Kids Park, number one? Second, there was a proposed project discussion several years ago reference to Lincoln Street about putting BMPs in Lincoln Street area to manage nitrogen. I don't know if that's what it was called, the Lincoln Street Subwatershed Project. Does that ring a bell? Is that still in the works? So I guess that's the second question.
The first one was, what type of installation we're going to do on Winter Street. We're going to, there's a trunk line, drain line that runs down Winter Street. Most of it comes from, say, the Washington Street area. We'll tap into that, and some of the initial storm events, and I say initial because we want to collect runoff when it first starts raining, because once it starts raining, there's this initial flush of nutrients that happens, and that's the part you want to treat. You don't want to treat the latter part. Well, you could treat the latter part, but it's much more efficient to treat the beginning of the storm where all the nutrients are. So at the beginning of the storm, there'll be some sort of weir type structure put into the main drain line that will direct the initial flows over into the park. The drain line is fairly deep there, so the installation that we're going to have to do is going to be fairly deep also. Into the kids' park area, we'll have something that's very similar to a septic system, chambered system, that will allow water to be able to percolate into the ground, and that way is how the treatment will be done. Okay. The second part of that was Lincoln Street. And the town had a capital project, Lincoln Street, which needed a water main, needed some sewer lines. If you want to make the street straight, had to put some curb lines in, and which meant some reconfiguring of drain lines, disruption to a pretty lively part of town. So it was an all-encompassing project. And so while we were early in the planning stages of that, and it lasted many years before it even got to the forefront of the CIP. We had help from Waterstone Engineering. The person that was the president of that company also worked at UNH to help out with the WISE project, watershed integration for the Squamscott and Exeter, back when we were getting our NIPD's requirements for our wastewater treatment facility. Then it evolved into that company, or that person, helping the Cape project, climate adaptation plan for Exeter. Is that right? I don't even know the acronyms half the time here. So that guy, when he had his own company, was also saying, hey, we know your biggest watershed, and this Lincoln Street project that you're in is in the biggest water project, water sub-catchment area. Let me say that correctly. The catchment area for the drain line that goes through our biggest watershed. And Lincoln Street was part of that. And since we had Lincoln Street on our docket for a capital project, that whole watershed area was deemed Lincoln Street sub-watershed area. That's how it got its name. And there's 2 reports on the town website, and maybe condensed into one now. There was a part 1 that Waterstone did for the town, and then there was a part 2 follow-up that they did for Rockingham Planning Commission after that. And what happened in that study is they looked at how much nutrients we're getting from the subwatershed area. And it's still a play off from the WISE and the Cape, so they had good information. And then they looked at where soils are that could potentially adapt to one of these BMPs that we're talking about. And then there was some actual locations that were investigated, some perk tests, some very shallow test pits were done in a way to see if it was viable locations. Not all those in the end turned to be viable, and then there was preliminary designs of several types of BMPs. When we had the discussion of what do you want to do for Lincoln Street, it's like, why don't you try to throw in a lot of different ones and we'll see what we can use and see what we have money for. So we had different types of BMPs called out. Most of them were like tree-type filters and media box filters and that sort of thing. And in the end, I think we installed, I know for sure 2, maybe 3 of those media box filters, which has an inlet from a catch basin that goes into some sort of media that perks through and cleans the runoff, and then the runoff is given back into the system to continue on. Now, with that sub-watershed area, there was lots of other areas. There was probably a dozen other areas that had potential BMP sites, and they also referenced the removal rates of those. So when it came time to now try to find where do we want to step, and this Kid Park project came out of that same Lincoln Street sub-watershed area. We went to the number 1 hitter, which was the gully right downstream of Lincoln Street, and we had deemed it in our CIP as Kimmons Brook. But when we did more investigations and deeper test pits and all that kind of stuff, it was just not a viable project for the BMP that had the most nutrient removal. So then we went to the next one, which if you follow that area upstream from Lincoln Street across the railroad tracks, you get to the island where the cannon is on Winter and Railroad, is it? Right there was the second one. But we had just done a water main in that location in conjunction with Lincoln Street. We did one on Railroad in Winter. And we did some borings over there. And the groundwater, even though it was deep, the drain lines was deep too, the groundwater was too high to make it work over there. So we went upstream from that, and that's why it got to be Kids Park. So Kids Park is really a long-winded story from me to say that it is part of that Lincoln Street sub-watershed study.
Thank you, that was good. Thank you. Cool.
Okay, any other questions on that one? All right, I'm going to move now.
Will you leave the purple?
Excuse me?
Will you leave the purple monster there?
Yeah, it's not being touched.
Okay.
Yeah, important.
And again, that's waiting for governor and council approval, and that'll allow us to start doing some of the work there. And what's interesting with that project, though, is over on the Salem Street project that we started construction last year, we also have a couple of these media box filters. We got 2 of them, BMPs, to install over there. We were able to use that project as some match for the Kids Park, too. So it worked out pretty good for us that way. Now I'm going to go to the annual total nitrogen report. And I told you last time that we had to submit that in January. That is submitted. Checking on the website today, it's like, oh, I forgot to put that on the website, so that'll be on the website here shortly. The last item I have to mention is the siphon project. And I think if the engineer's estimates are correct, and we were short at one time $1.2 million through congressionally directed spending, some of the latest state ARPA money and also the town ARPA money, I think we're able to make up all of that 1.2 million. I have 90% plans for review. We're still waiting on the final determination by Army Corps of Engineers, but we got draft conditions from that a few weeks ago, so it looks like that's going to be moving forward easily. We got one other minor permit to get, and the anticipated of having full plans and specs and be able to go out to bid seems like by the end of May we should be okay. At least that's the plan right now. Okay. Yes, sir.
If I might, to go back to Pickpocket, have you had much reaction or action from the town of Brentwood?
No, I've had zero because right now I am just trying to get all the grants done. There's not been any additional analysis until we get through this latest one, this Clean Water SRF, get all of those approvals and get those blessed before moving on. But as far as any phone calls of what I'm doing right now, it's more of trying to corral the money for that.
Have they been notified in some fashion this?
Well, of course they were. They were part of this board here for a little while. There was some invitations sent out to them and stuff. So they're aware of it. We're not moving at lightning speed right at the moment either. Just trying to get structured so that feasibility study can get underway.
I just acquired a good contact on the Board of Selectmen. That's why I was wondering.
Oh,
Very good.
if we get to the point of having results from the feasibility study, I think we really need to invite them to be a part of the review of that.
Yeah, and I think there's some requirements by at least the coastal resilience grants the effort for that should be done early on, and there's a reporting mechanism too, which brings it to the board and that type of stuff. So I think, I like to look at any of these feasibilities that you don't know the answer, you don't know exactly what you're going to get into. So we're using the Great Dam as an example, trying to replicate that. Through the course of discovery, I have no doubt that something new is going to crop up that we haven't thought of, so we got to be flexible in those locations. But also, if we had something in the scope of work that seems to be a dead end, we'll leave that be a dead end and use the money for something else too. So there'll be a give and take as the process gets underway and we start understanding issues.
Okay. Now, are you going to make so much progress on all these grant initiatives that we should meet in April, or should we meet in May so we can leave you alone to get more progress?
These things take a while.
They have. This has been our pattern. We've been meeting every other month.
I don't think there's going to be much involved. If it is, even if there is advancement of stuff, we'll say, hey, we got a contract finally. We're starting the stuff, but that would be about it if we met earlier. But I think even next time there may not be all of the blessings required.
So they could schedule a meeting for 4:30 right after us, and there would be plenty of time to get settled for that meeting, I would guess, right?
Yeah,
so
I would
is everybody
say
agreeing?
If they scheduled one at 3:15, there would probably be it.
So I'm hearing that we could meet May instead of April. Does that everybody agree with that?
Sure.
Plan? Okay, so
We can meet at the OI Festival.
yeah, that'd be nice.
Show them what we do.
Yeah, May 19th versus May 14th. So we're meeting just days after the AOI Festival. And once again, we need to have people volunteer to man that table from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. The table we're going to share with, help me with the acronym, AirSlock? How do you say that? Don knows what that is all about. Yeah, we're going to share the table with the Exeter Squamscott River Local Advisory Committee, and we're going to hopefully have some posters or photographs of the dam removal, and we'll be able to talk about what involvement the River Committee had in that process. So am I seeing lots of volunteers? Everybody going to show up to celebrate the alewife coming back? Okay. All right. Do we have any other business? Any public comment? Don's here. He represents all the public. No public comment.
All answer my questions.
All right.
Good report. Appreciate it.
So we have a quorum. We can vote to adjourn the meeting, I think.
So moved.
So moved? Seconded? All right. We have unanimous approval to adjourn the meeting, and it's only 3:27. Wow.
Can I see you, Nico, after the meeting? Another subject.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I do this.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.